Hi everyone, welcome to the video solutions of SCAT24 DILR slot 1. Now, first things, let me just talk a little bit about the DILR section, what happened, what changes over there. So, number of questions, total number of questions went up from 20 to 22, right? That was one change. There were, instead of 4 sets, there were 5 sets with questions as 5, 5, 4, 4, 4. So, total 22 questions. Now, a lot of people spoke about the test being very simple, the DILR section being very easy. Obviously, the DILR section was very easy compared to the earlier years. The only reason where the cutoffs might not rise drastically high is that the student had to now select out of 5 sets in 40 minutes. Now, that makes it a little bit more difficult to do your selections, you're wasting your time on selections. But what happened is some of the questions were such easy questions where they were just plain sitters, and that is why I thought that this test was much easier than the earlier years. Let's start with the first set. Now, the first set, the first thing which you notice that there was a lot of data to read. Yes, there were some percentages and everything, but there was a lot of data to read. Let's read the data, try and understand what was the important points of the data. Obviously, once I have started solving it, I will talk about what are the important data and all. Two students, Amia and Ramya, the only candidates in election for the position of class representative. So, for class representative, only 2 people are standing for elections. Students will vote based on the intensity level of Amia's and Ramya's campaign and the type of campaign they run. So, there are intensity level of the campaign and the type of campaign, 2 things they were going to be. Each campaign is said to have a level of 1 if it is a STAD campaign. So, STAD campaign is, if it is a reserved campaign where they're not going all out, it is not like an all out campaign, then that's a level 1 campaign, and a level 2 campaign if it is a vigorous campaign. So, vigorous campaigning is level 2. So, level 1, level 2. Campaigns can be of only 2 types. They can either be focusing on issues or they can be attacking the other candidate. That is attacking the opposite candidate. So, you can either focus on what issues you have in your school or your class or whatever, or you're just going to be attacking the other. Now, let's talk about what kind of percentage voters will be there and how these 2 people will get votes. So, if Amia and Ramya both run the campaign focusing on issues, if they both focus on issues and they do not attack the opposite person, then what was the percentage of people who would vote? So, they very clearly, it's more of like a mathematical situation that the percentage of students voting in the election will be 20 times the sum of the levels of campaigns. Levels were 1 and 2. So, if both of them were running level 2, so 24 80% will be there. But if one of them was running level 1 and the other was running level 2, then it will be 23s are 60. Or if both were running level 1, then 20 plus 22 2s are 40% voters would vote. So, over here, voters voting would be either 80%, 60% or 40%, right? So, that's the condition now over here, first thing we know. Now, among the voting students, the percentage of voters for each candidate will be proportional to the level of the campaign. That means if Amia is at level 1 and Ramya is at level 2, then Ramya will receive 2/3 of the votes or Amya will receive 1/3 of the votes. That means either somebody will get 1/3 votes or 2/3 votes or half the votes also. Because if both are running at level 2 or level 2, then they both will get 2 out of 4, which is half. And if both are running at level 1 also, they will get half. So, these 2 points don't look like a problem. There were 3 more points to be which you had to look at. Now, let's read that. Obviously, here it was both of them were focusing on issues. Now, out of the 3 points, now the first one is if Amya runs a campaign attacking Ramya. So, Amya is in the attack mode while Ramya is in the focusing on the issues. Then what would happen? So, then 10% of the students who would have otherwise voted for Amya will vote for Ramya. So, if somebody is going to play the attacking role, they will lose votes. That's important. 10% of voters will go from A to R, and another 10 who have voted for Amya will not vote at all. So, in all, there will be a loss of 10%. In all, there will be a loss of 10% votes if Amya was attacking Ramya, but Ramya will lose 20% votes. If Ramya runs a campaign attacking Amya and Amya runs focusing, vice versa exactly, then 20% of the students who would have voted otherwise voted for Ramya will now vote for Amya. So, 20% of Ramya's vote will go to Amya and 5% will not vote. That means there will be a loss of total 5%. But Ramya will lose 25% in all. And if both are playing the attacking game, then 10% of the students who would have otherwise voted for them now will not vote at all. So, both of them will lose 10% and the total will also be a loss of 10%. So, these were the conditions. Based on these conditions, you had these questions. If both of them ran STAD campaigns, that is level 1 campaign, attacking the other, and both of them are attacking the other, then what percentage of the students will vote in the election? Now, this was such a Easy question. Even at this level, you should be able to kind of answer it, because we knew that if both ran level 1, even with focus, they were going to get only 40%. Even completely focused, they were going to get 40%. So answer cannot be more than 40. We just said behind, right? 20, 2s are 40. And hence, because if both are running the attacking campaign, there has to be some loss definitely in total number of voters. So answer cannot be 40 also. Answer has to be 36. Literally that easy it was, right? What is the minimum percent of students who will vote in the election? We will see that this also was a very straightforward question. If AMIA runs a campaign focusing on issues, so if AMIA is focusing, then what is the maximum percentage of votes she can get? This is also pretty straightforward. So once you understood what is to be done with the data, I thought it was a straightforward question. Let's go ahead and try and understand what it is. So this is the initial data we have, that is of both of them focusing. So both are focusing, both are at level 2, AMIA at level 2, Ramia at level 1, AMIA at 1, Ramia at 2, and both at 1. What is the total number of voters? What will A get and what will B get? So we already said that this was going to be 80, 24s are 80 if both are at level 2. So this will be 80. Out of this 80, because both are at 2, 2, that means they both will get half of votes. So both will get 40, 40. No problem over here. If A is at 2 and R is at 1, that means total votes will become 20 into 3. This, based on this formula, it will be 20 into 3. It will become 60. Now, A will get 2/3 of the votes now, because A is 2 and R is 1. So A will get 2/3 of the votes, which is 40, and R will get 20. A1 and R2, again total will be 60. This will become 20, 40. And if A1 and R1, total will become 40 and both will get 20, 20. Now this was the initial data. Actually speaking, you could have finished the set, at least 4 questions of the set with this much data and a little bit extra calculation. But obviously there are a couple of approaches which I would have done in an exam situation, couple of approaches which I will show in the video. So they can be slightly different, and hence I'll show both the approaches. Now, to show in a video and to have a proper systematic way, what I have done is I've created 3 more tables with each of these 3 conditions. Okay, now let's see that. If A runs a campaign attacking Ramia, so A is in the attack mode and R is in the focus mode, what would happen to the total number of votes? Then 10% of the voters would not vote at all. So 10% of the voters who are voting for AMIA would not vote at all, and 10% would go to Ramia, but they're still there in the voting list, or they're still going to vote, right? So hence, out of 40, 10% will not vote at all. So total will become 76, but AMIA will lose 20%, 10% she will lose to Ramia, and 10% she will lose because they do not vote, because they were all her voters who do not vote. So hence, AMIA will get 20% less votes, so she'll get 32 votes. Remaining all Ramia will get, which will be 44. Now, what happens in case 2? Same thing, same condition. We are not changing the condition. So 10% of this will go out. So 40, may say 4 will go out. So total 60, may say 4 will go out. So 56 is left. While AMIA will lose 20%, so 32, and therefore 24 to Ramia. Same logic, 10% of 22 will go out. So total will be 58, but she will lose total of 20%. So 4 she will lose. So 16 and 42. And last one again, 10% will go out. So 2 will go out. So 38 will be left. While she gets 4 less, so 16 and 22. Now, one choice is that you don't do all this right now. Go to question by question and do each of them. And I'll show you that approach also. Well, now next one is, if AMIA is focusing and Ramia is in the attack mode, what happens? 20% of the voters who would have voted for Ramia will now vote for AMIA, and 5% would have voted for Ramia will not vote at all. So from Ramia, 5% will go out. That is, from this list, 5% will keep going out. 5% of 40 will be 2 and 5% of 20 will be 1. Okay. So let's look at over here. Out of 80, 5% will go out, so 78 will remain. And therefore, what will happen? 20% of Ramia's voters will now vote for AMIA. That means 8 voters will vote for AMIA, so she'll get 48. And Ramia will lose 25% voters, so she'll get 30. Or you can do subtraction, whichever. So total will be 59. AMIA will get 44. Ramia will get 15. Same logic I'm just applying, so I don't have to explain that again every time. Total will be 58 because 5% of this number will go out, and hence this will be 28 and this will be 30. Total over here will be 39, 24 and 15. And last case is both are going to be attacking, and in that case what happens? 10% of the voters will just go out. Okay. So दोनों का 10% loss and total also 10% loss. So total will become 72. A and B both will lose by 10%. So this should be 36, 36. Okay, that's a mistake over here. This should be 36 and 36. So we'll just change that. Now what happens over here? From this again 10% will go out everywhere. So this will be 54, 36 and 18. This will be 54, 18 and 36, and this will be 36, 18 and 18. So this last was the easiest one. Okay. Now based on this, let's answer the question. This I had already more or less answered. Let's just go through it again. If both of them run stead campaigns, that is A1, R1, and both are attacking, that is this table, then what percentage of students will vote in the election? So 36% will vote in the election, and that is my answer for this question, which is the second option. Now, how would I look at it in an exam situation if I'm not making, say, this table, and this table, if I'm not creating all of them? Well, this we know is 36, okay? That's the error which is going to remain throughout this. Now, I know that I have to go to, I will definitely create this table first, and then now I have to go with this 40 and I have to just reduce it by 10% because both are in the attacking mode. I just have to read that last paragraph first. 40 minus 10% would be 36, and this is what I would have done in the exam situation. Right? Next question. What is the minimum percentage of students who will vote? Now, based on the conditions, I'm sure you understood that when they are attacking, they are losing votes. So most votes would be lost when both are attacking. And which is the worst condition? Both are attacking also, the last condition. So actually the same number is the answer. That same 36 is the answer because lowest is over here, 40% people were voting. In that also there's a loss of 10%, that is, this is 36. No, the number is less than 36. Not that the other numbers are very high, but they are definitely not less than 36, and that is the answer. And this is also what I would have done straight away, answering the third option. Third question. If AMIA runs a campaign focusing on issues, so if AMIA is focusing, it could be, see, when AMIA is focusing, it could be this or this, right? One of these two tables. Again, we will think logically, in the exam situation, do I need both the tables or what? Then what is the maximum percentage of vote that she can get? When will she get more votes? Either when both are focusing or she is focusing and the other is attacking. Obviously, when she is focusing and the other is attacking. So she will get more votes when she is focusing and the other is attacking. So if I had not created this table and say I wanted to answer so obviously more votes are got when both are at level 2. So from here the answer was supposed to come. Answer had to be more than 40. So this option was out. This option was out. Answer had to be more than 40 because AMIA is getting 40 and Ramia is getting 40. Now what did we know? 20% of Ramia's voters voted for AMIA when Ramia went into attack mode. So 20% of this is 8. So she will get a -8, she will get a +8. Answer becomes 48. And that is my answer for this question. Obviously, if you had made the table, you could get it from the table. But without the table also, it was possible to get. And that is what somebody could have done in the test situation, is important to understand. The next question is, Ramia runs a campaign attacking AMIA, then what is the maximum percentage of votes that she is guaranteed to get? Sorry, the minimum percentage of votes she is guaranteed to get. Now, when will she be minimum? When she is doing badly and the other person is doing well. That means if Ramia is attacking and AMIA is focusing, that is the time she'll get the least number of votes. And also in that case, she will be at level 1 campaigning while AMIA will be at level 2 campaigning. And the answer is 15%. You could have got it from the table or you could have worked out only that single question also. Now the whole table would more or less become necessary for the last question. And this is what I would have done in an exam situation. I would have skipped the last question and done the first 4 questions with the logic without the table, without the whole table. That is how I would have done it. While over here, we are looking at minimum differences. What is the maximum possible voting margin? That is the difference between the two. Now over here, the differences were 20. Okay, so here the maximum difference was 20. Here the difference is 8, 8. Here the difference is slightly more. 42 minus 26 is 28. Okay, so there's a 28 over here, which is there in the option, which means these two options are gone, right? Next over here, the difference is 18. Here the difference is quite high, 29. And there is no number higher than 29. So no need to check anything else. That is your answer. Answer will be the second option. So the last question, if you made the table, it was easy. So now there's a choice, making the table would have taken you 10 minutes or 12 minutes and then getting that set completely right with 5 questions in around 14-15 minutes. Because it was a 5-setter, 5 sets ka DILR, maybe this was a little bit more time, and because the test was easier, you needed to crack more number of sets also. So average, you should have been able to solve 3 to 4 sets is my understanding. Obviously, there are going to be people who would have solved all 5 sets also in this scenario. Let's have a look at the next set. The next set talks about, 3 people, Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh, who have visited countries in Asia, Europe and rest of the world. So they divided the whole part into 3 parts: Asia, Europe and rest of the world. The chart below provides complete information about the number of countries visited by Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh in Asia, Europe and rest of the world. So right now from this chart, I don't really understand what they are asking, because most of the information is given. So for example, for Dheeraj, this value is 3 and this value is 7 and then this value is 1. So for everybody, those values are given. So obviously that becomes a very direct set. So maybe there is something else to it. So let's read further. So as we read further, we realize there are 32 countries visited by at least one of them. So this is the maximum number of countries which are there. Now, if you total this up, the values from the graph, it is definitely more than 32. And hence it talks about some amount of intersection, something like a Venn diagram. Don't misunderstand me when I say Venn diagram. We are not going to draw a Venn diagram, but this is the concept is of Venn diagram. What happens when there is an intersection between 2 people, what happens when there is an intersection between 3 people, and so on. USA in the rest of the world is the only country visited by all 3 of them. So there is one direct information over here. USA is the only country visited by all 3 of them. Now China in Asia is the only country visited by both Dheeraj and Nitesh, but not by Samantha. France in Europe is the only country outside Asia, which means there is nothing in the rest of the world also, which is visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha, but not by Nitesh. And the last point, which is the most important point, half of the countries visited by both Samantha and Nitesh are in Europe. So among the common countries between Samantha and Nitesh, half of them are in Europe. So taking this information and the information from the graph, I'm going to try and create a table and put some more data down there. We'll first see the questions, what kind of questions asked. How many countries in Asia are visited by at least one of Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh? This was the easiest question because Asia had very few countries, and because of that, this question became very simple. How many countries in Europe were visited only by Nitesh? That means in countries where only Nitesh is there, nobody else has visited those countries. Once you understand the set, it is an easy question. Otherwise, it was a slightly difficult one. How many countries in the rest of the world were visited by both Nitesh and Samantha? By both of them together, how many countries are there? And how many countries in Europe were visited by exactly one among Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh? So Europe had how many countries where only one of them, so exactly one of them. So where countries where only Dheeraj has done, only Samantha has done and only Nitesh has done. Right? Based on this, the questions, we've realized what we want to find. Let's go ahead. So the chart, we already know what it tells us. Let's look at this table. Here, I'm just going to put the values from the chart. Nothing else I'm doing. So there's nothing to explain. There is 3, 7, 1, total being 11. Samantha is 0 for Asia, 9 and 4. So total is 13. Nitesh is 1, 6 and 12. That is 19. Total of 43 countries, and total for Asia is 4. Europe is 22 and rest of the world is 17, and total is 43. So understand over here, I have still not found any intersections and not used those 5 points yet. Now I'll use those 5 points. Let's have a look at that. The first one, 32 countries were visited by at least one of them. Now total countries from the table is 43, which we can see over here, but only 32 countries are there actually. So which means there have to be 11 overlaps. Okay. Now overlaps can be of 2 types, where only 2 people are overlapping or all 3 people are overlapping. Now let me just explain this before I get into any explanation. Let me explain a small thing through Venn diagram. Suppose there are 3 people, A, B, C. First 2 people, A and B. Suppose A has visited 5 countries, B has visited 7 countries. So totally we are counting 12 countries, but when I count 2 over here, what happens? Suppose there are 2 countries with an intersection. That means A has visited only 3 countries alone and B has visited only 5 countries alone, and now the total becomes 10 instead of 12. So there are actually only 10 countries. It was not 12 countries, which can also be counted as 5 plus 7, 12, 12 minus 2, 10. Right? I'm sure you know this through Venn diagram. I just wanted to explain that. And same way where there are 3 intersections, let's count only intersection of all 3. Suppose one country is there common and nothing else is there common over here or whatever. One country is common among all of them. Say 5, 7 and 10. Then what would happen? This number would become 4, this would become 6 and this would become 9. And hence you would get 10 plus 10, 20 countries instead of 22 countries. So instead of 22 counting over here, you get only 20 because you'll have to subtract 1 2 times. So from 22, you'll subtract this 1 2 times because that one has been counted 3 times. right? And that is what we are going to do. So this was just to explain that concept to you, and let's go ahead. So as I said, now because there are only 32 countries and here there are 43 countries, there are 11 overlaps. So we know that there will be 11 overlaps, including 2 or 3 common countries. Okay. Now, USA is the only country that was visited by all 3 of them. Because it is visited by all 3 of them, it has been counted thrice. So from 43, if I subtract 2, or from that 11 which I want to make up, I know that 2 is being made up by USA only because USA has been counted 2 times extra. So USA accounts for 2 of the above. When I say above, means these 11 overlaps. So USA accounts for 2 of them. China in Asia is the only country that was visited by Dheeraj and Nitesh, but not Samantha. So China will account for 1 of these. And France in Europe is the only country outside Asia which was visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha, but not by Nitesh. So can I say China and France account for 2 more, 1 each, and hence out of the 11 I have accounted for 4. So I have to account for 7 more. Now the only condition, now see, pay attention. China is the only, within Asia, Samantha cannot intersect anyway with anybody because Samantha has visited 0 countries. So Samantha is out. Dheeraj and Nitesh have 1 intersection. So in fact, that answers my first question, which was very simple about Asia, as I had said earlier only. France in Europe is the only country outside Asia which was visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha. So Dheeraj and Samantha have visited only 1 country in common. So between Dheeraj and Samantha, they have only 1 country, which means between Nitesh and Samantha, they have more countries, right? Between Nitesh and Samantha, they have more common countries. That is what we have to figure out. Now pay attention very carefully. And this half of the countries visited by both Samantha and Nitesh in Europe. Now, let's understand, Samantha and Nitesh cannot have anything common in Asia. So half of that is in Europe and half of them is in rest of the world. Now, Samantha and Nitesh will have a total of 8 countries in common, 4 in the rest of the world, including USA, and 4 in Europe. Now, how did I get this number 8? Because I have to still account for 7 more. 1 USA I have already accounted for. So I have to account for 7 more, and from that is where I got this 8. Samantha and Nitesh will have 8 countries in common. 4 will be in the rest of the world and 4 will be in Europe. Okay, based on the last statement. Now, once I got that, I know that this I've already used. Now, understand this further. From here, what do I get? Between Dheeraj and Nitesh in Asia, there was 1 country. Between Dheeraj and Samantha in Europe, there was 1 country. Between Samantha and Nitesh in Europe, there were 4 countries. And in rest of the world also, between only 2 of them, Samantha and Nitesh, there were 3 countries. But there was 1 country, USA, which was common to all 3 of them. And that is what we have got. Now, based on this, I'll try and answer my questions. Now, how many countries in Asia were visited by at least 1 of them? Now, Asia, we had only 4 countries, and there's only 1 common between all of them, that is China. So hence, there's only 1 common country, China, between Dheeraj and Nitesh. And hence, number of countries visited by them will become 3. So out of this 4, 1 will get subtracted, which is China, because China has been counted 2 times. It has been counted for Dheeraj also, and it has been counted for Nitesh also. And hence, the answer will be 3. Right? That's the first question. Next question. How many countries in Europe were visited by only Nitesh? Now, let's see what do we have. Nitesh has 4 countries in common with Samantha in Europe, and hence out of 6, 4 will go. These are common countries. We want to know only by Nitesh. Hence, the answer to this question will become 2. Right? Let's go ahead. How many countries in the rest of the world were visited by both Nitesh and Samantha? Now, rest of the world, by both of them, we already have this answer. In rest of the world, there are 4 countries, including USA. Nowhere have we said that this should not include Dheeraj. So suppose if the question was, how many countries in the rest of the world were visited by both Nitesh and Samantha, but not by Dheeraj, then the answer would have been 3. Or by only Nitesh and Samantha, then the answer would have been 3. But because they said Nitesh and Samantha, including USA, the answer will be 4 countries. Right? Next question. How many countries in Europe were visited by exactly one of Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh? That means by only Dheeraj, only Samantha and only Nitesh. Now, for Dheeraj, if I count, Dheeraj out of the 7 countries has 1 country common with Samantha. So, only Dheeraj is 6. Samantha out of the 9 countries has 1 common with Dheeraj. So, that will go away. And she has 4 more common with Nitesh. So, 4 will go away. So, 9 minus 5 will become 4. And about Nitesh, Nitesh has 6 countries, out of which 4 are common with Samantha. So, 2 countries. Hence, that will be our answer, which will be 12. France is the common country, as I said, between Dheeraj and Sam. So, that was the one which we are subtracting over here. Then also between Sam and Nitesh, there are 4 more common countries that we are subtracting here. Hence, the number of countries for them will be all which they have visited, not with anybody else, that is not common countries, are 12. And that is the answer. Nice, important questions. Important question because once you understood the whole set, it became easy. But these are the questions which were slightly more difficult. Now, where would I place this set with this particular test or with this slot of CAT 24? It would have been maybe my second round of set, not directly a very straightforward set, but not very difficult also. Let's have a look at the next set. The next set was a tournament type of set. The game of quiet is played between two teams. So, two teams will play. 6 teams numbered 1 to 6 play in a quiet tournament. So, there's a tournament which is going to happen between 6 teams. These teams are divided into 2 groups, right? In the tournament, each team plays every other team in the same group only once. So, suppose if I am team 1, whoever is in my group, I will play them only once. So, okay, that is one part. And each team plays in the other group exactly twice. The tournament has several rounds, each of which consists of few games. Every team plays exactly one game in one round. So, how many rounds can I first figure out that? Because there's also one question around that straight away. So, that will be good. So, suppose if I am team 1 and let's assume the first group is 1, 2, 3 and the second group is 4, 5, 6, just for understanding. Which means 1 will play against 2 once, against 3 once. But against 4, 5 and 6, it will play 2 times. So, the total number of games 1 will play will be 8 and that will automatically mean for any other person also for any other team, the total number of games they will play is 8, which will also tell us there are 8 rounds and that is what exactly is being told about in the points also. So, actually only going through this much and going through the questions, you have already got one question which was a very straightforward question. Okay, there were out of these questions 2 are very straightforward. The rest of the data I see, there's a lot of direct data, So, in each team played a team from the other group in round 8. So, round 8 is always about other groups. Round 4 and round 7, the matchups, that is the pair of team playing against each other, were identical. So, round 4 and round 7 was identical and so was round 5 and round 8. Both were also identical. So, 4, 7 was identical, 5, 8 was identical. And see, for something to be identical, they have to play the other team only, other group, because otherwise you can't play that team 2 times. Suppose if T1 is playing T3 in round 8, then T1 can play T3 in round 8 or round 5 only if the T3 is from a different group and so on. And then the last 4 statements were all direct statements about which team is playing whom, where. So, we'll come to all that data. There's also one about an only once, which tells me that 1 and 5 are in same team. So, from the data, I've already got 1 and 5 are in same team. A lot of data we get directly like that. Let's continue. Let's see the questions. How many rounds were there in the tournament? Already done 8 rounds. One question already done, 3 marks already got. What is the number of the team that played team 1 in round 5? This was such a direct question. When you read the data, I'll tell you why is this such a direct question. Which among the teams number 2, 3, 4, 5 was not in the same group? Now, I already know 1 and 5 are in different group. Okay. That is the right from reading from the start. Nothing else I've read too much in detail. In fact, a lot of things we'll get from there also. What is the number of the team that played team 1 in round 7? And these two are more or less questions based on who played where, and you will try and get your table. As I had said, I thought this was very easy. Most of the questions come out very straightforward. So, I took whichever information was direct. That's a habit which we already told you earlier also. Always use your direct statements first. So, round 4 and round 7 and round 5 and round 8 are identical. So, round 4 and 7 are identical and 5 is supposed to be identical with 8. So, just marking that up. In round 8, team 3 played 6. So, round 8, 3 played 6 while 2 played 5. So, 2 played 5. So, automatically 1 has to play 4 because that's the only team left for there. 1 has to play 4 and that becomes round 5. And this was the second question. Round 5, 1 plays whom? That is why I said that was such a direct question. Just read one statement and you already got second question also. So, out of the 5 questions, you've already got 2 questions. Now, let's go to the next one. Team 3 played team 4 in round 3. So, round 3, 3 and 4 have played. One more thing is given over here. Team 1 played 6 in round 6. So, 1 played 6 in round 6. Okay. Team 1 played 5 only once. That was in round 2. 1 and 5 played only once, which is in round 2. Which starts telling me that over here, first of all, team 2 has played 5. So, 2 and 5 are in different, because in round 8 if you play, they have told us that they were in different groups. So, 2 and 5 have played twice, so they have in different groups. Now, with that I know 1 and 4 because 1 is not with 5. 1 is with 5 because plays only once. So 1 is with 5, so 4 has to be on the other side. I still don't know where 3 and 6 are. 3 is on which side, and they are on different sides, but I don't know which is in group 1 and which is in group 2. So I'll hold on to that condition. Now, team 4 played team 6 in both round 1 and 2. Team 4 played team 6 2 times, which means 4 and 6 are in different groups. In round 1 and in round 2, team 4 and 6 played. So which tells me 4 and 6 are from different groups. We got 6 here and 3 here. So our third question has been answered. The third question was 2, 3, 4, 5, which is not in the same group. So answer will be 5 is not in that same group. So while doing the set only, we have finished off 3 questions. Okay, now I've got a 4 and 6 over here. So I'll definitely get a 2 and 3 over here. That's the third thing missing. Now after that, all the points are over. I used up all the information. I still had a lot of missing data. So I said, let me go across. I started with 1 because that's the first team. So I started with 1. So 1 has already played these 4 games. I can see this 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 4 and 1, 4. Now, so 1, I can see it has played against 5 and 6, both finish. 4, it has finished both its games. So 1 with 2 and 1 with 3 is left 2 times. So these are the games left for 1 with 2. Now, where all will they come? Now, 1 is not played in round. Also look at the rounds which it has to play. It has to play in round 1. See, 1 has to play in round 1. It has to play in round 3. It has to play in round 4 and it has to play in round 6. Round 6 it has already played. So round 7, sorry. Round 6 it has already played. Now, 4 and 7 are identical. Right? But I still, in 4 I can have 1 and 3 or 1 and 2 both because 7 also I can have the same thing. But pay attention, in round 3, I can't have 3 because 3 is already playing. So round 3, 1 will have to play 2. So this will have to be 1 and 2. And therefore now both the 1 and 3, now 1 and 2 once is gone. So both the 1 and 3 will have to be 4 and 7. So this 4 and 7 will be 1 and 3, 1 and 3. And hence one more time, which is 1 and 2, will have to come in round 1. So I got that also. Over here, I can easily get the third values, which I get over here 3 and 5, 3, 5 and 6. At this stage, more or less for all the questions, the data is over. So you could have actually not done the remaining thing also and you would have still got all the answers. I have just continued doing it. So I just checked what all is left now. So if you notice, for 2, I have these 2 points. So I'll just erase all the ink ones. For 2, 2 has played 2 and 5. Now see, on the opposite side, 2 has played 2 and 5. I already know it has played with 1. So 2 and 5 2 times is over, 2 and 1 is also over. So 2 with 6 is left. That will have to come in 4 and 7 because 4 and 7 are identical. So 2 and 6 will come in both 4 and 7. So therefore this will be 4 and 5, 4 and 5. And therefore now 2 and 3 are played over here. So there will be 2 and 4 over here and 3 and 5. As I said, the last few values, if you are not done also, all the questions you're already getting without them. So no need to do that. If you are you're keeping an eye out on the questions, then you could have done this faster. How many rounds were there? Straightforward question, 8 rounds. We already said that. What is the number of teams that played in round 1 and round 5? So that team 1 played in round 5, sorry. So in round 5, team 1 is playing 4. So 1 and 4 over here. This we had got right at the start. Next one, which team among the numbers 2, 3, 4, 5 is not part of the same group? So 2, 3 and 4 are the same group. 5 is not there. Hence the answer will be 5. Next one, what is the number of teams that played team 1 in round 7? So 1 in round 7 is third team. So 1 and 3 were playing in round 7. So answer is 3. All theta questions also. Next one, what is the number of the team that played team 6 in round 3? So which team played team 6 in round 3? So team 6 is playing with team 5. So according to me, a very, very doable set, not very difficult, comes out very fast also, does not take too much time. If we just pay attention, reading the points carefully, even 2 cycles of reading them would have more or less given you the whole table. And that is why this was a very doable set in your first round. Let's have a look at the next set. Now the next set, there was a graph given to us and very little data. You know, one of the easiest set of this CAT24 slot 1. Now, 6 web surfers, M, N, O, P, X, and Y. So 6 people who are surfing the web had 30 stars with them, like a 30 votes or whatever you want to call them, which they had to distribute between A, B, C, D. The number of stars received by A and B from the six web surfers was shown in the figure below. So whatever they received from A and B has been shown. So if M does not receive anything from B, which means B is 0 over here also 0, here both of them are 0, here also both of them are 0. So something like that. This is for A and B they have given. C and D nothing has been given. Some values have been given. Some more values. Some more points have been given at the bottom, and we know total there were 30 stars, right? And if you read the first 2 points, which are very standard points, the number of stars received by bloggers from the surfers were all multiples of 5, including 0. So everything had to be a multiple of 5, including 0. Total number of stars received by the bloggers were the same. So each blogger received the same number of stars. That means 36 are 180 stars were to be distributed between 4 people. So each of them received 180 divided by 4, 45, right? Let's go ahead. In 3 points, we're talking about each blogger and each surfer. We'll read as we go ahead. Let's read the question. Total number of stars received by D. Question done. 45. We already did, right? Total 180 stars to be distributed between 4 bloggers. 180 divided by 4, 45. Question 1 is done. And that is why I was saying some of the questions are sitters. What is the number of stars received by D from Y? We'll solve as we go ahead. How many surfers distributed the star exactly among only 2 bloggers? So they gave stars to only 2 bloggers. We'll come to know. Which of the following can be determined with certainty? So there were 4 questions. Very simple set. You should have done this in a test. Now, let's get a table quickly. Total number of votes, stars given away by every surfer is 30. So that is 180. Based on what we read, we know that these are also 45, but we'll put it as we go ahead. Now, M has distributed 10 to A and 0 to B. So 10, 0. The remaining we don't know. These two ka total has to be 20. We'll come to as we go ahead. Next it is 25 and 0. So 25, 0. One of them will be 5 and the other will be 0 because everything is multiples of 5. Then these are both 0, 0 and rest 2 will be total of 30. So yeah, the rest 2 will be, have to make up 30. This is 5 and 25. So 30 is already done over here, which means P cannot give votes to anybody else. So 0 and 0 over here. X gives 0, 0. So 30 is still left. While Y gives 5 and 20. So 25 is done. And still 5 more is left. So let's have a look at the points and try and fill the remaining table over here. So what have we told in the first 2 points we already read earlier only. Number of stars received are all in multiples of 5 or they are 0. And the next one will be total number of stars received by bloggers was same, which gives us 45, 45, 45 and 45. Through which we already got one question also. Now, third point, each blogger received a different number of stars from M. Now, M has already given 10 and 0. That means no more 0 I can have. I cannot have a 25 also, right? I cannot have 20 also because 20, 0 is not possible. So, only possible is 5 and 15. That means C will be 15, D will be 5 or vice versa. So, we can have 15, 5 or 5, 15, right? Next point, 2 surfers gave all their stars to a single blogger. That means they gave all 30 to somebody. Obviously, that cannot be M. That cannot be N because N is already given 25 to somebody. That cannot be P and that cannot be Y also. So, only possible is O and X. That means O and X gave 30 to somebody. Now, there were 2 things pending for O and X, C and D, which means it can be 30, 0 or 0, 30. So, there will be 30, 0, 0, 30 or vice versa over here. So, that point also is done. D received more stars than C from Y. Now, Y has to give 5 more. So, it can give only 5, 0. So, this means it will give 5 to D and 0 to C. So, we got that also. Now, if you look at N, N is also missing only 5. That means the only possibility is 5, 0 over here. So, 5, 0 or 0, 5. Based on this, let's try and understand. Now, so C ka total, we're going to start with C. C ka total has to be 45 because anyway missing values are only between C and D. C has to be 45. Now, it is going to get a 30 from either O or from X. So, if it gets a 30, do you realize it can't get any more 5s in between? It will directly have to get a 15 because even if it gets 2 5s, it will not reach 45. So, it has to get this 15 over here. So, it will get one of the 30s and directly a 15. So, that will have to be 15, which means this will have to become 5. So, it can't get this 5, it will have to become 0 and therefore, this will have to become 5. So, those are the values I put in red, which are the values which are getting fresh now. Now, the only value which we still have not been able to figure out is this 30, 0, 30 and that will remain more or less as it is. Let's take this table and go to the questions. Let's have a look at the first question. What was the total number of stars received by D? Now, D received how many stars? 45. That's what we already know. We had already said it when reading the questions that this was the most straightforward question. So, answer is 45 over here. What was the number of stars received by D from Y? So, D received how many stars from Y? So, what do we know about this number? This is that number which you're talking about. D received from Y 5 stars. Answer is the first option. Next one, how many surfers distributed their stars among exactly 2 bloggers? So, who are those ones who have got 2? They have given 2 zeros in short. So, 2 zeros is over here in N. So, N is one of them. O is not there because O will have 3 zeros. P is also having 2 zeros. X is also going to have 3 zeros and Y has only 1 zero. So, N and P is the answer. Answer will be 2 bloggers. How many surfers? Sorry. So, 2 surfers are there. Answer is 2. Let's have a look at the last question. Which of the following can be determined with certainty? So, definitely which can we say? The number of stars received by C from M. So, C from M. Do we have a certain answer for that? Yes, we have a certain answer for that. 15. Number of stars received by D from O. We don't have a certain answer for them. So, only one we can determine. So, answer will be the only one, which is the fourth option. So, very straightforward set. Again, a set which you should have definitely done. And hence, I would definitely consider this as my level A set. Let's have a look at the next set, the last set, what we call as a candlestick graph. A lot of students who are already having a look at the stock market or have seen candlestick graphs would have found this set very easy. Otherwise, also it was a very straightforward set. Nothing really difficult in this set. Now, the chart below shows the price data for 7 shares A to G as a candlestick plot for a particular day. The vertical axis shows the price of the shares in rupees. And there's a price at the start of the day, price at the end of the day, lowest price, highest price, all those things were given. You can read that part very clear. All bullish and bearish shares are shown in green and red color respectively. So, in this chart, you can see the top over here is the, if I look at this point, that is the day's high point, this is the day's low point, this is the opening point and this is the closing point. So, for every share, it is that only green is bullish and the 4 reds are bearish. So, there were 7 shares. Let's go through the questions. 4 questions were there. There's something called a SPV they are defining. Is defined as a day's high price minus day's low price divided by the average of the closing and opening. And they want to know which of the following has the highest SPV. And the second question also is an SPV. How many of the SPVs out of the 7 shares were greater than 0.5? So, the first 2 questions were like a combination. If I found all SPVs, all 7 SPVs, I would get the second question answer and also I would get the first question answer. So, if I'm doing second question, first question is automatically done with that. Daily loss is defined as opening price minus closing price divided by opening price. Which among the shares A, B, F, G has the highest daily loss? So, where is the daily loss highest? And what would have been the percentage wealth gain for a trader who bought equal number of bullish shares on opening price and sold them at their day's high? I thought it was one of the, again, with the fourth set, this was the easiest set to solve in this CAT 24 slot 1. Now, let's start with the first question. SPV defined as day's high price minus day's low price divided by the average. And we have to do for these 4, D, A, F and C. So, starting with D, I will just keep writing over there only. So, what happens for D? So, for D, what is the day's high price? Because it is day's high price minus day's low price. That is 1200 and day's low price is 300. So, 1200 minus 300 is 900 divided by the average of the closing and opening. Average of closing and opening is between these two, 1000 and 500. Average of 1000 and 500 will be 750. So, D is more than 1. I don't know how much is it, but it is definitely more than 1. I will keep writing it that way and see what happens to the others also. Now, A. What is A? A is 2400 minus 1200, that is 1200. Divide by 2200 minus plus 2200 plus 1800, which is 4000. 4000 divided by 2 will be 2000. If you solve this, it comes out to be exactly 0.6. Then there is C and F. So, let's do F first, the way the options were given. So, A is not my answer to this question because D is more than A. F. F is 2000 minus 1200. So, that's 800. Divide by average of these two numbers, which is 1700, which is less than even 0.5, right? Which is less than 0.5 also. 0.5 would be 850. It will help me in the other question also. And last is C. C is over here. Where is C gone? Over here. right? So it's 1400 minus 800, which is 600 difference, and average was 1000. So this is also exactly 0.6. So answer for this question is D, which is the highest out of these two. And from here, out of A, D, F, C, I already know 3 of them are more than 50%. This is more than 50%, this is more than 50%, and this is more than 50%. Because same thing I have to continue behind. So now if I have to continue, I know that D is more than 50%. Which was not more than 50%. I think F was not more than 50%. So D, A and C were more than 0.5, and F I already know is less than 0.5, so I don't need to check F. Let's check for B. Now highest price is 2000 minus lowest price is 1400, right? Yeah, 2000 minus 1400 is 600. This is for B. So 600 divided by the average of these two, that is 2000 and 1700, right? Definitely going to be very low. 2000 and 1700 is 37. Half of 37 is 1850. Now this is not even 1/3. So this is less than 0.5. So this will not be included. B is gone. C I've already done. D I've already done. E. E is 14 minus 11, right? 1400 minus 1100, that is 300. Divided by the average over here is 1200. So this is also very, very low, less than 0.5. So whichever this was B. B we did, sorry, this was E. So E is also out. F we had already done. Now let's do G. G is this value minus this value, that is 1900 minus 1000, which is 900. And the average over here is between 17 and 12, 29. 29 divided by 2 is 1450. Now, is this more than 60%? Let's just check. 1450 into 6. 0, 33, 24, 20. It's 24, 22, 870. Right? 145 into 6 is 870. And this is 900. So, this is more than 0.5. Actually, more than 0.6. I had to check 0.5. Right? So this is definitely more than 0.5, no need to check also. So G also gets included. So D is included, A is included, C and G. 4 of them are there. So answer for this question will be 4. Again, just little bit time on calculations. If you have a calculator, much faster. Let's have a look at the next question. It talks about daily loss for a share is defined as opening price minus closing price upon opening price. Which among the following shares has the highest loss? Now, one thing over here is G does not have a loss. In fact, G has a profit. So G can never be my answer because G is a bullish share. Opening price and closing price ka difference, closing price is higher, so that is going to make a profit. So G is not my answer. I have to choose out of A, B and F. Now A, what is the profit? 2200 minus 1800, which is 400. Opening price minus closing price 400. Divide by the opening price, that is this value 1800. If you solve it, it is 2 by 9. Leave it as it is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to also show you a different approach to get this 2 by 9. Now how many lines is the profit? 1 and 2, 1 plus 1, 2 lines. So 2 lines is the profit. Divide by the cost price was at 1800. 1800 is 9 lines because each line is 200. So hence 2 by 9 directly. You don't need to read the values or anything. No need to do subtraction. So you directly got 2 by 9 for B. Sorry, for this is for A. Now let's do for B. B is 1.5 lines. Profit is 1.5 lines. Divide by 1700. 1700 is 8.5 lines. 1700 is 8.5 lines, right? Let's just go through that once more properly. Yes, 1700 is 8.5 lines. So we have 1.5 upon 8.5, which is 15 upon 85. 5 3s are 5 17s. So second answer is 3 by 17. Now I have to check only for F. F is 1 divided by 1600, which is 8 lines. So 1 by 8. Now, if you know your percentages well, you know that this is 12.5 and 1 by 9 is 11.11. So 2 by 9 is 22.22. So F is not my answer. I have to check 2 by 9 and 3 by 17. You could find the percentages or you could cross multiply. 17 2 is 34 and 9 3 is 27. This is greater. 2 by 9 is the best one. So A is the answer for this question. As I said, for the last 2 questions, we'll be using this approach of number of lines, which I'll use in the next question. Let's have a look at the next question. What would have been the percentage wealth gain for a trader who bought equal number of all bullish shares at the opening price and sold them at the day's height? So buying at the opening price, selling at the day's high. So only for bullish shares I have to do. So buying at this price, selling at this price, divide by the buying price. So I'll just go by the number of lines the way I did earlier. 1, 2, 3 lines. So profit is 3 lines over an investment of 800, which is 4 lines. Next bullish share. Profit is 1, 2, 3, 3.5 divided by 500, which is 2.5. So 3.5 divided by 2.5. Last 1, 2, 3, 3.5 profit again divided by 1200, which is 6 lines. So my total profit will be 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3, which is 13. 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3, which is 10. 10 divided by 12.5, which is 100 upon 125, which you should know is 80%. You can solve it further and check also into 100. Answer is 80%, which is the first option. So if you do it with number of lines, the calculation just becomes very easy, which we did for the last 2 questions.